Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Miami Minutes, the podcast where someday we'll find it, the Miami connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and us. I'm pretty sure I've made that reference before, but it's like 61 episodes in, so you might have forgotten about it the last time I did.
The more times you forget, the funnier it'll be. I want you to do it a third time.
I didn't do the Kermit impression. I don't remember if I did it last time, but I don't know if I can. My Kermit's not all that great.
That went quite good. You started off rough and then got good.
Yeah, and then I think my Miss Piggy is pretty okay, but Kermit, I saved your seat, but someone took it.
Muppets Minute.
Oh wow, Muppets to Miami. There we go.
Oh yeah. I want to see YK Kim interacting with Muppets.
Oh, wow. Oh, well, put a pin in that, because, isn't that what the big popular meme was? Like, if you could recast a movie with Muppets and save one human character, who would you save? And it's like, Miami Connection. Like, who Jeff would be the human, I have to say.
I was thinking Jeff.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's just an inherent sort of comedy in them.
Yeah. I think the Muppets are always best when, the person they're interacting with is just aggravated by the fact that there's Muppets around them. So Michael Caine, freaking Charles Grodin, all that. So it's like, John Cleese when he's on the show and stuff. But
well, the best thing about Muppets Christmas Carol is, of course, the way Michael Caine is just 100% acting straight.
Yeah.
Like they're not Muppets. It's almost like, no, I'm giving you a great thespian performance.
I think that's I think he said that he came to them with that idea. But if you look at all the Muppets movies, it's like, most of the people are always playing it like, everyone's treating it as like, no, I'm interacting with, this is a serious drama, man. That just happens to feature Muppets and stuff. But
brilliant.
Yeah. But anywho, yes, so this is, I'm one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I'm your other host, John Parker, here to pop and lock my way through every minute of this amazing movie without Muppets.
Maybe we should go on vacation. Worst banter ever.
What are you talking about? It's hilarious.
These guys, thank God, the Jeff's crew don't have their own podcast, because it's... I know sometimes we speak over each other, but we know when to correct it. These guys, it's just like a cloud of noise every time they're interacting. You can barely make out anything they're saying.
I think, we'll just... Actually, hang on. Yeah, we'll just dive into that now. Screw it. I think it's a deliberate choice, right? In that, all of this is ad-libbed, because I've brought that up before. It still is. No surprise.
You tell me there's some genius didn't write this dialogue for them?
Surprisingly, no. It is ad-libbed, and I think they're doing it because they don't know what to say. So if we just say a load of crap over each other, it's fine. It just sounds like banter.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter then. No one can really hear it. But I can hear it because I'm going through minute by minute.
Oh, no, but I remember Vader. This was a scene in particular. I remember him sticking out to me of this guy keeps popping up. Right. And then I was paying attention to what he said because I kept noticing him. And it was also then kind of all the things he says is all really lame because he's just not he's not a good improviser. He's not a particularly good actor either. But
and there's one bit that's I think a bit racist.
Oh, well, we'll get to it. Because, of course, we're past the hour mark. We're now in minute 61 of Miami Minutes and Miami Connection via the connection of the podcast and the phone.
61, but we're never gonna stop a rockin'.
It opens with the Bobbsey twins making a delivery. And it ends a minute later with Jane observing the greatest minds that Florida has to offer. Deep in conversation.
Oh boy, that doesn't speak well for Florida.
This is I don't know if I ever noticed this before. But yeah, what I always thought was one man is in fact two.
The villains.
Yeah, because there's a guy we haven't encountered before. There's Pink Floyd hat. He's and you could
Didn't
fully...
we call him Floyd? I think we may have named him that.
Yeah, well, but if we didn't, then we shall do now. Because I think that's what they're let's see if we can get looking at that hat, and then it's you see that hat in so much detail in this minute. And then Kid Rock. It's I thought it was the same guy for some reason, but
maybe they're brothers.
They do have a very kind of kind of bandy-legged, gangly, hillbilly-ish vibe to them. And they're both wearing caps, and they're both wearing basically baggy jeans, caps, and very little else is their whole ensemble.
Although the other one, Floyd there, he has nice trousers, I think. They are like, they look like ones the Clash would wear. I used to wear ones like that. I only don't now because it's a nightmare to actually get them in the right size. For some reason, they make them all skinny, which he's wearing skinny because it's the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
But the skinny doesn't suit my frame. You know, you got to have a very specific. You have to be very, very thin yourself or very lithe.
Yeah. Oh no, I've seen. Cause I've tried to wear skinny, skinny fit things in the past. And it's always like, it's just you look like a lollipop. You know, all thin at the bottom and just at the top, like whoop, there you go. That's
another thing. Yeah, you've got to be wearing something really skinny on top as well.
Yeah,
or it looks even weirder. So
otherwise, it's all muffin top. You know. I bought a pair of trousers actually literally this week, and it was one of these things of like, well, I don't think my size has changed at all because all the other trousers I own is still in that size, still fit perfectly well. And then these new ones bought them in the same size, and I was just a bit like, wait a minute, what's happened here? Like, don't you tell me I've gone up a size when I clearly, because all my other trousers are fine. What's going on?
This is the thing. This is what I don't understand. I know women's sizes are notorious for fluctuations, but listeners, if we have any female listeners, I haven't looked at the stats. This is a very niche movie. Male, so to speak, clothes do the same thing. And that makes less sense to me because they're a measurement.
Yeah.
Like women's ones, they're a made-up fucking number. It's like, okay. But men's ones are a measurement and they fluctuate. It's like, that doesn't make sense.
It's like, why is 38 inches for this garment different for 38 inches for another garment? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It's bizarre. I can't wrap my head around it. But I'm sure they'll have some stupid excuse.
Yeah. Well, these are men who are not afraid of that kind of thing, though. Even if I think they were cramming themselves into those those skinny fits. The Kid Rock's just outright flexing, trying to show off a load of stuff that he's not really got there because he's just kind of gangly, skinny guy. But whatever, man.
Well, in fact, you've brought that up. I'm going to say have 2 drinks immediately because you briefly see Tom and he's topless.
Of course, yes.
So have a drink for that very non-fun topless scene.
A not fun.
And Kid Rock is topless, so have another one.
Have a non-fun drink. Just drink down some water.
I bet like solemnly have a swig of whiskey and weep.
That probably should be, we kind of almost skip past that there for a moment. But, we do have, which really made me notice that both these guys are not, in fact, the same person. Them delivering Tom into what I thought initially was like one of their mother's houses or something. It just had that vibe of like, oh no, they're shooting in, somebody's house. But then it's like, it turns out it's in the gym where they all working out. It's in Jeff's gym.
Well, I've got a question, right? Because I thought the same thing. Like, oh, well, it's implying it's in the back of the gym, but is it? Because I thought of something else after the fact. I didn't actually write a note about this. Have those guys dropped him off somewhere and then gone to another location? Because, spoiler, people, Jane arrives and has a look and can't see anyone.
Is that what you took away from it? I took it that she went in, saw that he was beat up, and came out with a kind of look of disgust, and was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it."
She would have took him home. She wouldn't have left him there.
I don't know.
These guys aren't going to stop her.
I thought that maybe she's like, if I try to take him, they will stop me, and so I'm going to go.
These guys are going to stop Jeff's sister.
Well, they're already like leering over her and like
that's pushing it as it is. I'm surprised Jeff doesn't kick the shit out of them.
Oh yeah, like they're full on perving on her. Like later in the night, it's proper like love that chewing gum walk, very wriggly, all that stuff. Like one guy's doing the old the shapely hand movement. When you're trying to with
which is hilarious when you see the outfit she's wearing is shapeless.
Yeah, it always reminds me. Who was the comedian who did it? I think it was Frank Carson or something. I remember a comedian did that whole thing like, oh, you want to see my wife? And he did like the little, like the shapely body thing. It's just like, like this. And that's just the head.
Okay, that's good. That's...
And the classic one of Foghorn Leghorn. Well, like, girl's got a body like the road to Fort Lauderdale to Arkansas. No curves. back in the early days of cartoons, you could just throw in some casual misogyny there.
It's perfectly fine. People are used to it in their day-to-day life.
I saw it too, because I've been watching so much Animaniacs with Killian. And like, people always go on about like the objectification of women and whatnot. All very valid points in media. But then we grew up in the 90s when like that Diet Coke advert of like all the girls just like drooling over the guy working on the building site across the way.
Yeah.
And that whole ad campaign was based on just objectifying a man and stuff. And that was one of the biggest things on the planet at the time. But I saw an episode of Animaniacs where they were spoofing that, but it was all the girls running over and looking out the window, but it was one of the hippos from the sketch of the two hippos.
Oh yeah.
And it was like him doing all the stuff and just like drinking, and like it was all these girls like really like leering over him, and then he like, opens up a can of like the soda spoof that they're going, and the can is called Soak, so the soda is called Soak. And then the tagline at the end was like, "Ladies, get soaked."
Oh,
obviously, when you're a kid, you don't get that at all. But I was sitting next to Killian, like, Jesus Christ, you can't.
That's full on.
You can't put that in a kid's show, God Almighty.
No, that's so clever though, because genuinely, kids won't get it. They won't even know that it's naughty.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have reacted to it if it hadn't been for me going like, what?
And then you've got to try and get out of it. Like,
it was just, no, you'll understand when you're older.
When you see Jane walking in.
No, the way.
Although, Tom at the beginning, I kind of loved how they're mockingly calling him a tough guy, not just because of the song.
We heard you playing that the other night.
But like, what was he supposed to do? He was massively outnumbered. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care if you're YK Kim. That's a difficult fight. There's all these people jumping him.
Yeah.
Like, you tough guy. He's like, you piece of shit. It's like, you've ganged up on him.
Yeah.
But then I suppose that's villains are like that, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not gonna play, with the classic thing from the Turtles. Confronting Shredder, and then like Leonardo been like, "Turtles fight with honor," and Shredder been like, "I might be, but I fight dirty," and just like getting out like a load of foot soldiers and like, "Oh, go get him."
Well, yeah, and also like villains don't really make sense because they're stupid. Especially these guys. These are dumb. These are the dumb bad guys. So like they don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of that in our Batman and Robin season when we were talking about Bane, not the Bane featured in the movie. Because he's very different, but like Bane classically in comics, this whole big thing is like, I broke the bat, I'm a badass. And then you read the comics, it's like, you didn't fight him fairly though. Like you literally had like 50 other villains fight him first, wore him down until he's literally exhausted, and then just came in and smacked him around and broke his back. It was just like, hey, I beat him. Yeah, it's just like, well, yeah, anybody could have done that. It's like you literally wore him down to nothing. And then he'd be like, oh, well, that was part of the breaking of him. It's like, yeah, but you didn't fight him fair, did you? Like you couldn't have beat him if you just come up and confronted him like a normal villain. But
well, that's the thing here, isn't it? Like maybe that's what they thought with Tom. It's like, well, we can't actually take him on because he's one of Mark's students.
Well, that's the thing too. They didn't even try to take Mark. They were just like, no, we got to wait for, like, I think as we kind of theorized last week, potentially waiting for the weaker link of the group, because we've not seen Tom working out. We've not seen him. We didn't do much in one of the earlier fights. It's kind of like maybe they've pegged him as like, that's the guy who can't do much. So, we can go in and again, we don't know like how much. Like when they could have been beating him with like a freaking crowbar or anything. Like they could have been using weapons on him and stuff.
Well, that ties into a question I've got actually. You see him laying there, and he is bruised to fuck. He's battered and beaten. But the thing is, like we saw them throw him in the boot of the car and then drive away. So the assumption normally in a movie would be this scene is when they arrive at the destination and they get him out. But if that's what's happened, why is he bleeding? So they must have been periodically stopping the car to batter him, right, and then carry on.
Yeah, unless it went out to... It'd be a bit weird they did it in this way around. Because I know next minute is them at, like, their kind of building site hangout.
Yeah.
where they have Tom there then. But
yeah, which is that escalates things somewhat.
But you think like they would have just taken him straight there and then beat him up, and it would have made perfect sense if they just cut to what the next scene is.
Yeah,
where he's just like, he's tied up against like a girder or something, and he's just already beaten and bruised. Like, they took him there, but this now adds a bit of confusion. Like, they took him, they put him in the boot, then they took him to Jeff's gym where he's already beaten up for a little bit.
So they must have beat him up along the way.
Yeah, but maybe every time, like, let's stop for drive-through and a little beat me up. Because he wasn't shirtless the last time I saw him either, so the shirt has got... So it kind of feels as if they would have taken him to the building hangout site, beat him up there, then driven him back here to hold him here for a little bit. Which, again, that makes me think, like... Because my interpretation of the way things happened is that Jane came in knowing, they've probably taken him. She walks into this room, we see at the beginning of the minute, sees how badly beaten up he is, and is like, oh my god. And then I
can't. No, she wouldn't leave him.
I think she's going to go tell Mark and John, exactly, this is what they've done to him. They definitely have him and stuff. And then that spurs them to action. And maybe then the reason they've added this scene in is because, like, it wasn't clear in an original cut or something. So they had to, like, we better throw in a scene of... Because it makes so much more sense for them to put him in the boot, cut to the scene at the building site.
It does. This scene feels pointless. Now that you've pointed it out, I don't really know why it's in the movie. This is something you would cut normally.
Yeah. I think it's entirely because...
Or there's a scene in between where something's happening and we get here. It feels like maybe either there's something cut or this should have been cut.
Yeah. Unless they felt like, we'll have to look to it, in the later minutes. Maybe the original version of it just had Dragon Silence show up, assuming that they took him, and then they wanted to add in a clarification that, like, no, Jane saw him there. Although, to be fair, it is shot confusingly, because the way she walks in, not to skip too far ahead in a minute, but, like, she walks in, goes into what I think is supposed to be this room, and then they kind of, the way they show her face, I thought was supposed to be her looking at Tom, but it turns out, no, that's actually her looking at the guys. Like, I think she walked in and then walked straight back out. Yeah. And it was a bit confusing. I was like, is she looking at Tom now? Or is she... No, she's looking at them. Oh, okay. And then the way I pieced it together was like she literally walked in and was like, oh my god. And then that's why when she comes out, she's got like a face like thunder. Because she's like, I can't believe you guys and stuff. And
I get that. Then again, it could just be, not knowing how to make a movie. But I would show a reaction of her. A reaction shot of her.
That's supposed to be the reaction, is her looking really annoyed. I've been like, oh, you assholes, I can't believe...
But you think she'd rush over and, like, grab him, like, are you okay? Something.
Maybe, I don't know. She's just like, I don't really like Tom. He's
not really my friend. He's my boyfriend's friend.
It has the kind of slight vibe of, like, a mother who told their kids not to put like a bowling ball in the washing machine or something. I came in and was just like coming back out with that like, what did I tell you kind of look, instead of like, oh my god. And I think the vibe is she knows she can walk in and walk out because they're not going to do anything to Jeff's sister. But if she tried to take Tom, they'd be like, no, we have to stop you. And like,
I could maybe accept that, but I still think the character of Jane would or should run over to Tom to make sure he's okay. If that's the case, that's how I would do it.
Yeah. No, it does seem a little bit callous that she's just like, whatever. But I guess we've not seen her interact with Tom, really, except on stage, I guess. Do you think actually right enough that they would be theoretically, like, writing songs together, maybe?
I get the vibe that she, whether rightly or wrongly here, she just sings. I don't think she writes. I think she's just, they tell her what to do.
Yeah.
Which is a bit cheeky.
So I think the actress co-wrote the songs because of she again, it makes it look even more callous that this is her, like, at the time, real life husband.
Oh yeah.
I
forgot about.
Which is really, I guess maybe they thought the reason they don't have them interacting really at all in the film is because, like, there might be too much, like, chemistry between them.
Oh, it was too sexual. It was oozing off the screen.
And then people will be like, why aren't these people together instead of her and John? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But
or it was embarrassingly the opposite. They didn't want to, make the couple feel bad.
Well, apparently, as we covered during the beach scene, there was a lot of jealousy on set. So.
Like, I can understand, if there's a full-on getting it on scene, that might be a bit awkward. But he seemed a bit jealous of them just kind of holding hands and things.
Yeah.
And it was like a very tame kissing scene. Which, if you're going to be an actor, you're going to have to do that. You've kind of got to get on board with it.
Same way, I mean, when you were up, with a stud like the guy playing John, I mean, like it's Vincent Hirsch, you don't get a Vincent Hirsch to come along every day, John.
Well, all Johns are studs. So,
Although,
that's a fact.
As I'm sure I probably mentioned previously, no offense to you with the name, John, but I think Vincent is a way cooler name, quite frankly.
It's more unusual. Because although I like the name John, because loads of my heroes are called John, at the same time, everyone's called John.
Yeah, it's an incredibly intensely common name. Like it's the most, even in the two most a throwaway, like that's just what you would call a general person without an identity, is either John Smith or John Doe. And in both examples, which also makes then their naming of people in the movie feel very like, it's got someone called John and there's someone called Jane. Because YK Kim is like, those are American names, right?
Yeah, got them from a book or something. What's weird about that, though, is I don't know if it is still the number one most common name, but it's always up there.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
But I know so few Johns. Like, I know 2? You'd think.
Yeah.
You'd think I'd know fucking loads. It's weird.
Well, but the other Johns that I know, the one that comes to mind is one who is genuinely a bit unusual in that we have friend of the show, Johnny Powers, who's it's a girl, Johnny.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's cool. I think it works as a girl's name.
Yeah, but the fact that the name Johnny Powers too is just like, that is a cool name.
It's the most awesome name you could possibly fucking have. I'm
it's
jealous.
Like one of these things. If you introduce yourself as like, yes, I'm Johnny Powers, people are like, fuck off. No, you're not. What's your real name? Real. It's like must be like Muriel Smith or something. Come on, it's like no, it's genuinely Johnny Powers. The one thing I really do want to point out about this minute, my favorite thing in it. Was the unnecessary adding of the sound effect when they drop Tom on the floor.
Yeah.
Because they just have to give it a little extra wallop, so they throw in like the sound of like a couple of like bowling balls hitting like like hitting some turf or something. Like, like that's not what that was. Like I don't know why they added that in. Just like flop him on the floor, he'll make some sound if you do it.
I think it's just purely. Again, not really getting film and being like, well, they always add in like Foley, so we'll do that. And it fascinates me, like, finding out how audio was made like that, how the Foley was done. Yeah. Because when you find out, it's bizarre, isn't it? Like famously in Indiana Jones opening the Lost Ark, the Ark of the Covenant, that was what's his face who does the audio?
Ben Burt.
Ben Burt. That was him, like, taking the lid off his toilet. and when you're like, oh, yeah, that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, that's like some old stuff, too. Like, yeah, lightsabers is like, yeah, it's just like a cathode tube from the back of a TV and stuff. Like, yeah.
And aren't the blasters... Like, didn't he hit some sort of a cable?
Yeah.
Just, like, hit it with, like, a bit of metal. Go, dong.
Yeah. I think it was hit a cable against, like, a piano string or something. It was, like, a weird... Yeah. But
it's fascinating.
Although they just really went crazy and we're just adding in like when they throw Tom on the floor, like the Wilhelm scream comes out of him or something.
Yeah.
And then when Jane goes in, you hear that gasping sound check. We keep noting it in Batman Returns. Mm-hmm. But there's there's a crowd gasp sound effect. People always complain about the Wilhelm scream. But that gasp is so overused now that every time I hear it, I'm like, no, it just took me out of the whole movie now. Because like that's the one no one's talking about. But, like, there's a gasp sound of a crowd gasp that's in literally every crowd scene. And yet, no one gives a crap about that one for some reason.
No, but that one's fine.
It might have clarified things if they added it in when Jane walks in, you hear, and then she comes back out and it's like, those two sounds did not go together. But,
Now, the last thing I'll say about Tom here is, other than the bruise makeup being quite good, is that he is wearing a cord as a belt. So I wonder if they were ragging on his cord.
I was about to say the same thing. It's like, hey, dude, John's ragging on your cord.
He's got it. Look, it's the cord. It's the same thing.
I did also know a guy who wore a cord as a belt for a while.
Amazing. Fantastic. That's, you know what? That's punk as fuck. Why have I never done that?
No, he wasn't a punk guy either. He was a big old hippie, but like
Oh, it kind of goes with hippies too.
Yeah, although it's one of those classic things of he was like one of the big alternative guys in my hometown, and then now you see him, it's just like, yep, comb over, pram full of kids, beer gut, just wearing normal clothes, and you're like, yep, well, that happened to you too, man.
Oh, it can happen to everyone. I was very upset yesterday when I went into the bathroom, and when I looked to the side into the mirror, I was like, oh, my stomach's big. Am I fat, or is it because I've drank some beer? And it's like, it's wheat, isn't it? So it's maybe a reaction because you can bloat. My ex, in fact, sometimes would have one beer and randomly bloat. Like, it was insane reaction. It's like, holy fuck. It's like, Jesus, like, you need to go to a doctor.
It's just a drastic allergic reaction. Really.
Yeah, right. But then sometimes it wouldn't happen. So it's okay.
That was like one of my exes, actually. In university, I remember like she was like an extreme lightweight. But I remember her saying, like, yeah, I can only drink spirits because beer, I have a really bad allergic reaction to beer. And, when you're young, you're just like, oh, come on, what are you talking about?
Have one anyway.
Have one anyway. And I remember her taking one beer, her whole body, like, turning red, basically.
Oh, shit, that's not good.
And she was incredibly pissed off one beer. And I remember her trying to do, like, a sexy dance for me to try to seduce me that night. And been like in her underwear, and me being like, you're like beetroot red. It's like,
maybe people are into that. Have you not played Baldur's Gate 3? People like the red lady.
Oh, this is back. It was like 10 years before Baldur's Gate came out. But yeah, so we got the one thing I noted there. They've got kind of like it's as if Wolverine's been at Tom. They got some little slashes on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Probably, would have been more popular back then. Freddy Krueger's been at him. That's a very Freddy kind of a. It's like, if they ever had any beef with that in the 80s, like the X-Men people were like, this guy's come in, he's just taking our whole slashing fingers thing from friggin', that's Wolverine, that's his iconic thing. And then, Freddy faded out in the 90s. On it, And that was the thing, too, to get Freddy faded away in the 90s, and then, like, Wolverine's like, I'm back, baby! And Hugh Jackman, oh, no, you're only going to think of me now, and you think of, like, claw slashy finger thing. That's
a good point. You can only have one of them at a time.
Yeah, so after Deadpool 3 and Hugh Jackman finally, actually retires at the time as the character this time, they'll announce a new Nightmare on Elm Street. It'll be like,
because when they did the previous Nightmare on Elm Street that nobody liked, or did they even call it that? What did they call it?
It's just called Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
When they did that one, I don't believe there was an X-Men movie at the time, was there?
Or maybe that's why it did so badly, is because X-Men was so dominant that people were like, we don't want this. We've already got one of these guys. It's like, no, this guy has it coming out of his fingertips. Like, Wolverine has him come out of his knuckles. Like, no, it's close enough. All the iconography of the slashes down the screen. That's all. We all know who that is now, But back in 86, that was friggin'... You only had two of them with Dream Warriors is on its way. Like, that would have been the best movie of 1987.
Why were Dragon Sound not the Dream Warriors?
Oh, well, maybe
I don't mean the name of the band. I mean, why weren't they in the movie? They all cast them all. Make them the Dream Warriors.
There'll be another sequel to the novelization.
Yeah.
Will be it's like, we're just doing Dragon Sound and encountering Freddy Krueger now.
Got to take him on. Yeah, why not?
That would be amazing, actually. Just like, no budget. Just like to worry about. You're like, we're doing a novel, and it's just the cast of Miami Connection going up against Freddy Krueger. Like, why not?
Yeah, you could just call it Mark versus Freddy.
And it also had a thing in one of the group chats in the Movies by Minutes group chat. I've not had to argue my point in a while, but I think I did it successfully as well. Where someone was throughout Halloween was watching all the Friday the 13th movies, and I love all those myself. And then, because they wanted to get to Freddy versus Jason, they're like, well, I've got to watch all the Nightmare on Elm Street now in order to, get the full context or whatever.
I get that, yeah.
And afterwards, he was like, I can say, like, Friday the 13th was the better series. And I was like, excuse me. Like, because I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Freddy guy. So I was like, the fuck it is. Like, it's the Friday the 13th is like 20 of them. And like they're just kind of like there's about 5 genuinely good scenes in all the movies. And I love all the Friday the 13th, but like it's a very repetitive, quite like banal series for a lot of the time, except for when you get really crazy kills. And Freddy Krueger's whole thing is like, even the worst Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they get crazy creative with everything. You'll see kills you'll never see anywhere else with like demented scenarios, and it always has such a weird vibe, and there's such an atmosphere about Nightmare on Elm Street that I was really like. I was in the middle of my bran flakes in the morning. I was like, I had to put aside 20 minutes to write my whole tirade about like, hey, here's why it's better and stuff.
I think you're right. I probably put them a bit closer, but I think you are going back through them in my head because I watched them back to back. I watched all of the Friday the 13th, and then I went into all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets. That was for the first time. I'd never seen any of them, so I did them all back to back. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Overall, I think Freddy's got more consistent highs.
He's much more of it because then, at the end of the day, Jason's just he kind of transcends Michael Myers because they just with Friday the 13th they lent into the crazy. Yeah. So like I'd say Jason's better than Michael Myers now because Michael Myers is obviously the OG for that kind of thing. But like he's they keep him very straight laced, whereas Jason's is like, no, we're doing absolutely just bonkers things now with this. Whereas like Freddy's is like a much better. He's an actual character. He has a personality. Like Jason and Michael is like, this guy's walking around with weapons and they don't say anything. But Freddy's like a conniving, manipulative, evil. Like it's so much more fun as a character as well. But anyway. Although I will say, from having rewatched it quite recently myself, if anyone wants to know, Dream Warriors, the best of the Elm Streets. And Friday the 13th 6 is the best of the
6. Ooh, okay.
6 is the one where like it works as a Friday the 13th movie, but you can tell that they know that it's very silly. Like they like at the beginning it does a Bond spoof where the title has like a little circle and Jason walks along like Bond
that one.
and fires the machete at them, and it's got like an Alice Cooper spin-off single, and it's like it's very knowingly like we know we're making like a bonkers slashers movie. That's just it's like one of the kids at like in the summer camp, like a little 8-year-old girl is reading like The Fountainhead or something like in bed and stuff. Like little snippets like that where they're clearly throwing in a lot more jokes to be like, but not like spoof jokes, but more like, we're having fun here. We're not. We're more clever than what's come before, but we're not going to disrespect the material either, kind of thing. So
that's a new side series coming soon where we talk about all of them.
I would absolutely love to do that, quite frankly. But anywho, you might be able to tell there's not much. There's not much to this minute.
Well, when we do cut to the villains, I know we've talked about them, but we cut to them and they are dancing, which is something we haven't talked about. But as West Side Story taught us, all gangs dance.
Yes, of course.
So it's perfectly acceptable. It's fine. And I enjoyed that it's old school 80s, like poppin and lockin.
Well, yeah, they're probably still in the afterglow, basking in the afterglow of Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. So they're... And maybe they're trying to go like, maybe if we do this, then a cannon will pick us up for distribution. if we smooth with the cannon people, like
this has cannon vibes. To be fair,
I'm almost surprised their cannon didn't distribute it. Like it's one of the things. Like they're like, no, we're not even touching that.
Oh, I think this genuinely is better than a lot of cannon movies.
Well, you have to get into like American Ninja versus Miami Connection.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's another side series genuinely we should probably do, is go through some canon ninja movies.
Oh, totally. 100%, yeah. That's what the Patreon's for, baby.
Exactly. But you're right. I think that's probably why they're doing it. It's the era, isn't it? That's cool. It's hip. I don't want to say on the rise. It's probably at its peak. It's going to start dying off soon.
I wonder if you let them... for like, with the camera rolling for a little bit, how long would it take for someone to attempt a moonwalk?
Oh God. And everyone does it wrong.
No, yeah. I've only ever seen one person do it right. the guy who, like, although I guess Michael Jackson didn't invent it because I think he swiped it for someone else as well. But
I believe so. I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it's like, I believe I've seen some, like, it was like a 1950s, just like a stage entertainer Just like, yep, that's the moonwalk. This random guy just did it. And you're like, oh, no, there it was.
Well, and everyone moves and pushes off the wrong foot because they're sort of going off how it looks, but that's not how you do it. So I know, I'm not going to sound like I'm amazing. I know how it works. I can't do it though. It does take practice and talent, but I at least acknowledge that if I do it, I'm doing it wrong because it's the only way I can do it.
Yeah, that's definitely the kid in Moonwalker. There's Michael Jackson hanging out with a bunch of kids, which. Yeah.
Say no more about that.
But it's in the video, like the uncut video for Smooth Criminal. It's just like a big segment from Moonwalker. And it's like, I think it's like a little kid who's in like the people under the stairs. I think he went on to do that.
Yeah.
I remember him, he does a moonwalk, and it's the closest. But you can tell it's probably because Michael Jackson himself has been there going, this is how you do it, kid. Yeah. And the kid's like 8. So it's like, oh, fair enough, you're not going to get it. Perfect every time. But maybe if Joe Jackson was there, he would have got it perfect. But
oh, hell yeah. He would have beat it. You're going to get this right.
He's like, go, Michael, go cut me a switch.
You're not allowed to embarrass Michael.
I remember one time watching a Jackson's biopic on Channel 5, like a made-for-TV one. And at one point, Joe Jackson literally says, Michael, go cut me a switch.
Oh, my God, no.
And I was like, no. Is that a thing people actually say?
Jesus Christ. I remember watching one that was called Black Dynamite. It was a very, very serious, documentary.
But yeah. And also, so Vader is doing some popping and locking.
Trying.
Yeah. I only noticed that he's got like, he's got like a knife on his hip or something. He's got like a little holster.
Yeah, that's defo a knife. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just added how badass he is. It's like have to be just. I don't care who you are. If you're going around with a knife and a holster on your belt, you're an asshole. Like.
Yeah. But then this is America. Open carry.
Yeah, open carry. But even like I'd almost respect a gun more. So like a knife is just like, oh come on, man. Like if you're gonna do it, then do it properly.
Properly.
Maybe we're just used to like living in England, where it's just like, oh no, you have a knife, you keep it secret so you can get the drop on people. Basically.
Yeah, I mean we have a problem in this country with knife crime, but it's it's very illegal to have it out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, you can't. There's no open carry in England at all.
Like I remember growing up, everyone had a penknife.
Yeah,
my dad had a penknife. Now. You can have them, but they have to be very specific. They have to have short blades on the knives and things. If it's over a very short length, there's a specific number, I can't remember what it is, then it's illegal and you get arrested.
Oh,
you
wow.
can't walk. Technically, you're not allowed to really like have a screwdriver in your pocket.
Oh, wow.
That's illegal because it's a weapon.
So really like a pain in the ass to the Swiss Army knife guys. Or like, it's like, can we keep this? Nope. Can you keep this? Nope. What are we down to? Like the little magnifying glass thing.
I think it must be a problem, actually, thinking about it. I assume they made separate products for the UK, which that costs some money.
Yeah, it does. Although I remember having, like, I didn't own one, but I remember a Swiss Army knife being around in like a house I stayed in recent years. Like someone who lived there owned it.
It could be the UK one.
Yeah, but it had a proper little knife on it and stuff. But
some of those old ones back in the day, they were almost like this fucking knife. They were huge.
Yeah. I guess back in the day too in America, they'd have like it became a big thing, of course, with gangs in the 50s and 60s, like the proper switchblades, where there's like, it was like the one in like 12 Angry Men. It was like proper like custom made handle and all this stuff. Like Jesus Christ.
There's something. I don't know. There is, even though I'm not a violent person, there's something oddly attractive about knives. I don't know what it is. I don't mean in a sexy way. I know people are into that. That's fine if that's your bag, you know.
Well, I've already mentioned one of my exes before.
See, there you go. So that's not what I mean, but I don't know. They just look cool. So I get the attraction to them. But if you're walking around with one, you're a dick. Like, if you have them mounted on the wall or something in your house, okay, that's quite cool.
Yeah.
Like, I know someone who had swords. Proper, like, samurai swords and stuff.
But even dweebier though, and he was a guy who had like Lord of the Ring replica swords.
Oh, that's
stuff.
cool.
We'll have again the Isildur's sword and stuff like that. All the shards, and you could like on display.
Oh, you had the shards. I was going to ask. Oh.
Yeah. No, I don't know if you could put it together.
But technically, it's then a new sword, isn't it? He reforges it into a new blade.
Yeah, so that,
or
maybe he'd be
like
Narsil.
Or is it Narsil when he's remade? Oh shit! Oh, I should
Narsil's
know this.
When you it's one of the things you can't get to sleep at night. Use some Narsil.
Ask your doctor if Narsil is right for you.
But anywho, we keep getting drastically off track here because again, there's not much in this minute.
Well, I'll just say this then, right? Because Vader, he's trying to pop and lock, and he comes out with something I find very troubling. He says, "I'm a brother now."
Ooh.
And it's like, oh, because he's insinuating black people dance, isn't it? And it's like, oh,
that's 100% that's what he's going for.
No, don't say it. And that's why you don't let people who aren't trained ad-lib. Because I'm sure he's not racist. I'm sure he's not, but he's just blurted out the first thing he's thought of.
To be fair to him, back in the 80s, like you could have professional improvisers, they would come out with stuff.
They
like
probably,
that. Like,
that is true. You're absolutely right. I guarantee, like kids at school would have said stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. I think even like 7 years ago, you would have got people still throwing in little things like that. Where
He even does an accent. He's like, oh no, I'm not going to do it. But he says, "I'm a brother now" in an accent, and you're like, no, that's not good.
And yet, I do wonder if, like, in the context of the movie when they were shooting this, are they aware that these guys come off as dweebs and like just so dorky and kind of sad and lame? Because
I don't think so.
Or are they genuinely thinking, now this makes them look like cool, badass gang guys? Like, it's like look at how hard they are and stuff. Like, how are we supposed to take this away that this is a comedy relief bit?
I don't think so. I think wholeheartedly they think that they're tough gang guys. Because, like, in the commentary, I'll just bring up my note for that now. They don't really talk about much, but Joseph Diamond, yet again, he's in awe of the prowess of these kids, as he calls them. He thinks they're amazing. And I get it, because he does say, like, essentially, he saw these kids grow up before his eyes at the school, you know, and that is quite nice, isn't it? It's like, oh, you know, I did see them go through formative sort of moments. But he is just like, oh, they're amazing. Like, he thinks this is great.
So, even the dancing, like, it's like, I'll be fair enough if we're talking about, like, the actual martial arts moves. But, like,
I think it's just meant to be them, I think they're meant to be fucking around.
Yeah.
You know, they're meant to be jerks. But I don't think you're meant to be thinking they're dweebs.
This scene led directly to the inspiration for Run DMC's "It's Like That" video.
Yeah.
There's actually an uncut version of Vader and Kid Rock facing off. And their moves are just so terrible. They're like, just cut that from the whole thing.
Oh God.
I do wonder, because the fact that, like, that Run DMC song was so big, and yet it seems to have left no cultural impact. It's like the Avatar of songs almost. Like, although Avatar then came back and apparently grossed $2 billion or whatever this like with the second movie.
And I still don't know anyone who's watched it.
No, I was in somebody's house not too long ago, and it kept, you know, when it was released on digital. And she was going like, I don't know anyone who's seen this. And I was like, I don't know anyone who's seen it either.
It's a conspiracy. We're being lied to.
Yeah, I think it is just James Cameron just like bought $2 billion's worth of tickets. So I was like, yeah, everyone wants to see it. Sure.
He could afford to.
Yeah, probably. He's like, oh, no, I saved all my Titanic money for such an event as this. Put it all aside in case I ever need to fake having a blockbuster.
But
anywho,
yeah, here we get Jane wandering in, as we've sort of briefly mentioned. She comes in this amazing suit.
I was going to comment on how good the suit was. It is jazzy. It's just, everything about this is very cool. It's kind of almost, you know, it's before Twin Peaks, but it does have the kind of like the red with the black and white thing. It's very Twin Peaksy in that way.
It's stylish as fuck, and it's such an 80s cut, like the shoulder pads and the shapelessness. It's fantastic. I like the way the 80s are like, let's hide this woman's physique. We've got to hide everyone's bodies, please.
Yeah, but hide the physique and also make you think that they have shoulders that like you could freaking bend a 2x4 over. Like,
fantastic, genuinely love it.
Yeah,
and I assume she has free reign of this place because she's Jeff's sister. You don't fuck with her.
Yeah, totally. But again, though, they have a whole thing of like, it seems to be understood with them as like, oh, you can look and you can say stuff, but you can't touch. Like, I don't think they'd ever try to touch her unless she tried to take Tom out of there.
Maybe.
They might be more like, we might just grab him off her and then be like, no. And then we'll probably have to like, maybe that would be, I'll be curious to see if that did happen. Like if then they had to like shove her out of the gym and then that got back to Jeff, would he be like, he might, there's 3 of them. He might like, beat the crap out of one of them to be like, all right, well, I understand why you did, but
I think he would bat them. I don't think he'd be happy. At the end of the day, he says he's doing this for her.
Yeah.
Whether that's true or not is another matter, but that's his stated goal. It's to help his sister. So I think he would be fucking fuming.
I think also we have to take into account like why she doesn't take Tom out of there, because I'm still the mindset that she goes in and looks at Tom. It's because also they took 2 of them to carry him in. He is like unconscious, drifted in and out of consciousness. Jane can't pick up Tom and walk out of there with him, because if he can't walk himself out, she can't pick him up like just by herself. True. And they're not going to help her. So I guess she is like, yeah, I gotta leave him here, and then just go and tell. I'll leave them with the classic message of Mark's gonna get you.
Yeah, she should say it as she walks out.
It should be like the tagline to the whole movie. It was just like, oh my god, that would have been great actually. Miami Connection just at the bottom. Mark's gonna get you.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. You know what, listeners? Do let us know what you think. Then, do you think Niall is onto something there? I'm intrigued. I want to know what the general consensus is, because it's an interesting thought I hadn't sort of considered.
Yeah. But yeah, no about Jane looks like she's really dressed up to go somewhere though. This is like she's might be stylish day to day, but this also looks like there's lipsticks at play. It's matching with the bag matches the top exactly.
She's off on a date or something.
She's yeah. And then you wonder like, what the hell's John wearing? Because like she looks like, if I saw a lady walking in like in that way. I don't know if I'd be wolf whistling like these assholes, but like you would be like, oh, wow, that is a stylish lady,
Yeah, it's a really nice look. It's not a sexy look like these guys seem to find it. It's a nice look. She looks good.
I think she literally come in wearing a burlap sack, and they would have been like, whoa,
it's lads, men behaving badly.
And then like Vader has this other thing too, because she's asked like, oh, where's Tom? And then Vader's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe he went on vacation or something. It's like, it's not.
Oh, the thing that gets me, just before that, maybe he's on vacation, which is the least funny thing ever said by a human being. Vader, in his questionable accent, says, because she asks, where's Tom? And he says, he hasn't seen anybody since 1962.
Yeah, that's how she says, yeah, have you seen him? He's like, I haven't seen anybody. He's like, yeah. But I didn't know
what does he mean by that?
I wasn't too sure. I guess it's like it's either just a lame joke. I was almost like, was he born maybe in 1962? And he's just like, I've never seen anybody ever. Like that's the joke of like, because I guess he could say that he could be 24. The thing is, the actor, God bless him, he could be 24, he could be 47. Like it's kind of hard to tell.
I was thinking he was saying it about Tom. Interesting.
Oh no, I think it's it's just like, have you seen anyone? I've not seen anybody since 1962.
I thought he said he's not seen. Okay, I'm interested.
Oh, okay.
Now I need to check the subtitles, which I do have, of course. Let's look, because I don't know. You're making me question my ears now. It was hard to hear a lot of the dialogue because they spoke over each other. Oh yeah,
there's no. Yeah, it's like an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm times 10, where some people nattering over the shop of each other and stuff.
That was like all the dialogue, yeah. Right. So first they called. We forgot that they called him a dumb bitch, which is quite hilarious. Ain't seen anybody since 1962. That doesn't clarify anything. That could be either of them. That could be oh Jesus.
I don't know. I just took it to mean have you seen him? I ain't seen nobody since 19. So it was just more like, is the meaning of the joke is just like it's an arbitrary date that he hauled out of his ass, or if he was born in 1962, meaning he's not seen anybody ever.
Maybe. My only thought when I thought it was about Tom is he saying, is he like calling him old?
I don't
like
know.
He's an old man. But it's like, well, he's not really.
Yeah. Plus, too, remember too, this is 86, so 1962 is only 24 years prior. So
yeah,
it's
but maybe he's saying he's from the 60s, but that would only work if he had a 60s look.
He's the most 80s looking man in
Yeah,
the whole
exactly.
damn movie. Like,
So it didn't make sense. So that's why I was just like, what the fuck?
again, though, it'll all be put down to just like, this guy's not a good improviser.
No, which is fine because I'm not, which you might think is hilarious for someone on a podcast. But that's a different beast. Doing a show is different. If I was being filmed and that pressure or on stage or something, I probably would find it tough. Vocal improvising, anyway. Obviously, physically, that's what I do. I do physical improv. That's a different matter.
Yeah. It's I also enjoy the fact though he has to do that classic thing of like, to indicate what he said was funny, he has to like laugh at his own joke and then also reach out for a high five.
Yeah,
That's always the same, because then the other actors like Kid Rock's like, oh yeah, like that was a joke, I guess. And yeah, I'm enjoying the pantomime of Floyd there with his arms, his arms wide, saying, well, I don't see him anywhere and stuff.
Well, that's the thing. That's another thing. Like if she says to Jeff how she's been treated, not even the sexual stuff, he's going to be pissed off.
Oh, totally. Oh no,
So you don't talk to her that way.
I mean, that would be you really feel there should be a scene of like them doing this and then Jeff appearing behind them.
Yeah.
And then been like, like instantly shutting up because like, I'm surprised they're even risking it, because like, you think they might, what if Jane tells Jeff what we said about her? It'd kill us. Like,
yeah.
It's insane that, well, but also I guess they are idiots as well. So
True again.
yeah. But that'd be, although now Vader is officially a brother, maybe he's just like, I can cite racism if Jeff attacks me.
Oh God, oh no. Let's just call him Brother Vader.
Brother Vader. Like, Jeff, I am your brother.
No.
Like, that's not true. That's impossible. Well, you're white for one thing.
Well, everything goes back to wrestling. I mean, one of my favorite wrestling tag teams are the Dudley Boys. The Dudley Boys were amazing. Like they were a big thing in like the sort of mid to late 90s and then into the 2000s.
Yeah.
Started out in ECW, ended up joining WWF. But that was their whole gimmick. Was there was a lot of them originally, but it got pared down to just 3. But the main 2, Bubba Ray and Devon, they're brothers in storyline, but one's black and one's white. It's quite funny. It's like, yeah, because I think they always said, Big Daddy Dudley got around, basically. I think it's hilarious. It's great.
Yeah,
and they'd wear inverse glasses. Like the white guy would wear black glasses with white tape in the middle, and the black guy would wear white glasses. The white guy would wear the black one, with the white tape, and the black guy would wear white ones with black tape. There you go.
Wait, I'm me? Hey, don't screw me around, fella.
God, I relate. It's confusing.
My final note, though, really is just that. One, we've complimented Jane's suit already, but it does weirdly remind me of the video for "Genius of Love" by the Top Club. There's a lot of random, just like crazy animation stuff they're throwing up, and that kind of pattern would be coming across the screen and stuff.
I can see that. It reminded me a little bit of the artist Keith Haring.
It does, yeah. It does have a very Keith Haring-esque vibe. It does look like you could literally... It's one of those things you could just, like... That pattern. I want to say if there is a pattern, the whole pattern is that there is no pattern. It's just a bunch of random stuff. But you could hang that on a wall. Like, it's,
Yeah, I'd have a print of that. That's nice. Or you could make anything out of it. You could make a duvet.
Oh, totally, yeah. One of my most upsetting things is I have a duvet that I love the design of so much. I wish it was a shirt, but yeah. And as people said, you can turn it into a shirt. It's like I can't. Like I could commission someone to do it for me, but then how much will that cost? So.
I don't know. I know someone who's a fashion student. I could get them to do it.
No, but then I'd want to pay them making a shirt from scratch deserves like a fair pay. So then it's like, well, it's going to cost me 3 times the amount of a normal shirt at least. So,
but it'll be unique.
But and then my final note is just that I might have mentioned this before. I can't remember, but seeing him now ever so much more clearly. The guy playing Floyd looks a lot like the actor James Ransone, who a lot of people would know from Ziggy Sabatka from season 2 of The Wire, and that he's was in he in all the Insidious movies, or he's in.
He's definitely in at least one of them. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
I only remember the first one. Is that a good? That's not good.
It's the only one worth remembering, I think.
Yeah. I remember I liked 2. But I couldn't tell you a single. I don't remember the plot. I don't remember who's in it.
Maybe
it's
it wasn't
same
even
leads, right?
Oh, it was Sinister. I think he was in. That's what I'm getting mixed up with. So, but then
these are all kind of the same. I like them all, but they're all the same.
Well, that's all. Yeah, that the Blumhouse horror, baby. It's just like, well, it's the Blumhouse horror. What's our gimmick? The movies are all a bit the same, and they're just okay.
Yeah, like you're going to enjoy it. It's not going to be terrible. You're like, okay, fine, yeah.
Well, there's sometimes they hit on a good one, and then sometimes they kind of like Sinister, where like the first 45 minutes is like one of the best horror films you've ever seen. And then it just descends into absolute garbage. It's like, and then the sequels is like, no, it's just all garbage then. But no, people most so Ziggy Sabatka, Sinister, and then of course he played the adult Eddie in It Chapter 2. Was one of his big things. But Eddie Ransome's a guy like I always enjoy him as an actor. Loved him in The Wire, and weirdly then I remember been like weirdly proud of like. When It's Chapter 1 came out and I saw that kid, I was like, who'd be really good playing him as an adult who looks exactly like him and will play that character really well is friggin' Ziggy Sabatka from The Wire. And that's who they cast. So, yeah, but just seeing him now, it's just like, is this Eddie or James Ransone Sr., this guy? Like, he looks so much like him. It's just him with a wig and a mustache. It's crazy.
That's great. I've just looked up a picture. Oh my god! What? Yeah, I've got them side by side.
They have that kind of same awkwardness about them as well as performers. So it's like maybe it is his dad. I don't know. It's like his father thought he was going to hit it big with Miami Connection, but then
we wish he did. He deserved it.
He's like, you go to that Wire audition. You know what they'll do? They'll screen it for a week and then they'll package it away somewhere for 25 years and no one will get to see it. But yeah, that's me noted out for minute 61.
Same, because it's just more chat and shit as the minute ends, isn't it? None of it matters. It's just basic dialogue that you can barely even understand or hear. It's generic as fuck.
Yep, it is.
So that's the end of my notes, and I did my commentary track note as well. I do believe. So if you didn't have your 2 drinks at the very beginning, have them now. If you forgot, have them, people. Down it, down it, down it.
And yeah, I mean. Spoilers for next minute. Somewhat similar stuff happens, but in a new location. So come with that exciting tease. Come on back next Saturday, I guess.
Never go to a second location. That's my advice. And yes, we will break that connection. Join us again in 1 week. As usual, find us online. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just type in Miami Minutes. Whatever. We'll come up. And why don't you... Let me think. Have we got anything unique that I haven't said for a while? No. Check out our other podcast, Bat Minute. Check out my other one, Hedvig Inch by Angry Inch. Check out our Patreon. All of the above.
So you got the Patreon. Very soon we'll have up a. It's tied into Bat Minute, but very loosely. We'll have me and John recorded an episode reviewing the James Bond movie License to Kill. Which will be up very, very soon. So if you want to hear us talk about something completely different, like i.e. James Bond, which is a thing that everybody seems to love, so you might well enjoy us talking about that. We do reminded me some of the dialogue in this and some of the weird inflections Because there's a bit in License to Kill where Benicio del Toro taunts Felix and says like, "Oh, going on your honeymoon." It's just a really weird like, yeah, no one could do that, but Benicio del Toro. Like it's kind of like a Chris Walken kind of like, yeah, no one else could have delivered that line that way. I don't think he just he just had an idea on set and was like, yeah, this is just my weird energy that I'm bringing to this.
I think that's why you hire him, isn't it? It's like you do what you want to do. Just be you, be weird.
Yeah. I guarantee in '87 or '89 when that came out, when people didn't know who Benicio del Toro were, they're like, oh, that guy, the way he said honeymoon was weird. Then you go get them in The Usual Suspects, where you can't understand a damn word he's saying, and people remember that, and then eventually you make a career. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
So join us again 1 week. We'll be back with more Miami Minutes. I'm a brother now.
I'm your brother now, Nancy.
Listen to me.